TFR. Truth Frequency Radio.
When you finally boil it all down, magic is imagination. We are moving into an age of manifestation. Things become actually less material, more ethereal. The golden dawn is when we awaken to this new station of life. What you think becomes real quicker. Regain our imagination, regain our inner child, and let that inner child out.
My name is Frank Castle, founding member of the music group Heist Click and New York City Neo Shaman. After a serious injury sidelined my career in 2013, I decided to set out on an adventure to search for myself with the help of the plant medicine ayahuasca. What I discovered waiting for me was something I could have never prepared for. It was time for me to become something more, someone more. It was time I became fearless. Shine as my heart beats a rhythm with space and time. When the light starts to shine inside your third eye, you awake to the knowledge that you never die. What is up, everyone? It is Saturday night, and I'm Frank Castle, and I'm here with my etherical translator, Paula Milo, and we are here to shake stuff up.
Hey, everyone.
It's the Sorcerer Supreme of Saturday night. It just rolls off the tongue.
I know, I love it.
What's up, everybody? Before we start the show, I want to give a quick shout out to Chris and Cherie Gio. Love you guys so much. Stay tuned for after our show for Beyond the Veil. If it wasn't for those guys, we wouldn't be here telling our story.
No, we wouldn't.
Not like this. Not like this. An intense story for everyone tonight. We're going back onto the timeline, but before I get there, if you like the show, if you really dig the show,
get a subscription.
You could go check all the archive shows.
That's right.
You can show your support. If you say don't like me, but you happen to be catching the show right now, you just hear me tell you, hey, if you like one of the other guys, sign up. Get the app. You'll really enjoy it. And you'll like it. And you can show your support in numerous ways, because there's a subscription for everyone. And there's so much to listen to.
TruthFrequencyRadio.com.
And if you like the music you hear in tonight's show, HeistClick, that's my group. Check it out. We're everywhere where we're supposed to be. And welcome to the now. We're back. This one's going to be a hard one tonight. I didn't know where to start. I'm kind of all over the place. Had a lot of coffee. Had an intense experience today. Had an intense experience last week, but we're going actually back in the timeline. We're literally almost caught up. I'm only a few stories back from where I was today. And it freaks me out, this part of the story, because as we know, Frank gets abducted in more than once. More than once. I'm looking for my disclaimer. I don't even know why. I know it by heart, but now it's time for my disclaimer. This is the story of my journey and my journey alone. I don't suggest you try this at home alone, that is, unless you are ready. Then by all means, proceed. But first, we suggest finding a reputable shaman who knows what he or she is doing. And travel safe in the love and the light. And remember, the universe rewards bravery. Before we start it, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm ready. I'm ready to hear this.
Before I jump into it, there's something I want to read because we didn't get to the raw material last week. This is taken from the channeling session when Ra came through one of the subjects during one of the experiments. Many of your peoples are at this time seeking outside their illusion. To those who seek, we offer our understanding. We do not attempt to say that we have ultimate wisdom. We only suggest that which we have to offer may be of value. For we have found in our experience, as we have passed through the same experiences as those of Earth, that there is a most beneficial direction in seeking to serve. We are acting through instruments such as those here tonight to give to those who seek an understanding. Our presence is meant to stimulate seeking. Through this process, we hope to contact as many of the peoples of your planet as would desire our contact. We hope in the very near future to be able to contact many more of the peoples of your planet, the people who would desire understanding. It is difficult to contact those people of your planet because of all this, shall I say, mixture of types. But it is well worth it in our effort if we are able to connect to just but one. We will continue to act as we do now, speaking through instruments such as this one, until a sufficient number of the people of your planet have become aware of the truth. We are constantly striving to bring through many channels of communication the simple message to the people of Earth. The simple message is that we leave them with the simple understanding of all that there is, and that is love. It is really weird as I dig into this stuff. They want to make contact, but can't make contact with you if you don't want it. And that doesn't mean just looking out your window and going, oh, yeah, come contact me. Like, if you're literally not ready, they understand, at least the light ones, if they show or...
Right.
It's almost like you'll pray to them, too. There's another whole thing that collapses with that. You meet one of these beings, and right away you're like, well, I follow this guy. Like, he came to me, you know, and this is what's going on. And the truth is, you got to use discernment.
You do. You do.
This is coming through the Law of One, Book One, the raw material. There was a scientist who went and decided to contact these beings, and Ra came through. They were shocked. They were like not even prepared for that character, which is just like myself, not prepared for what I was in for. So we go back to the storyline, and it starts like this. A few years back, I was in between relationships at the time, and I had a friend over, someone I had just met, for dinner or drinks. And it was early in the evening. And I said, I don't normally drink. I don't like to even have anyone over my place. But I was kind of broke at the time, and things weren't going good. She was an interesting character. She broke open the Patron, and I remember taking a shot and then opening a beer. I started to not remember after that very quickly. Everything started to get slippery, and I thought that this girl drugged me.
And that had to have been really frightening.
My position as a hip-hop artist, very frightening. It's not the first time somebody has tried to put something in my drink or whatever. So I wake up, and I don't remember if I told this on the show or if I told this on Chris's show, so I'm just going to zip through it. I wake up naked on the edge of the couch, hanging over, though, my feet on the floor, kind of just bare. I'm short, so I was barely touching. And then my head was like on the pillow cushion of the couch, completely naked. And the first thing I did was realize I was naked. I kind of was like, oh, what's happening? I'm shaking. I felt a little nauseous. So I stood up and I started checking myself immediately. And I looked over, and she was naked on the couch. But she was, all right, this is kind of messed up. She was wearing a robe of mine that was packed away in my closet. Like, there's no way getting to this unless you want to spend 20 minutes rummaging through stuff, which was really odd. And I was like, wow, the thing is ripped. That's why I put it away. Well, she was wearing it, and she was sitting, and she started to come out of it, and I started screaming, hey, what did you do to me? Hey, what the hell's going on? What? I almost cursed again. What? Are you out of your mind? And she said, she woke up, she looked at herself, she goes, oh my God, like, what did you do? And I said, I didn't do anything. I want you to get dressed and tell me what you did and get out of my house. So she swore up and down. Look, we had a drink. I don't remember anything literally after that. Okay, well, you need to get out of my house. I couldn't really get much out of her. I felt bad because she literally looked like, yo, why am I naked? But she goes, I don't feel like we had sex. And I said, I didn't have sex with you. I'm shivering naked in the house going, you need to get out of my house now. So she leaves. Years later, I have an ayahuasca experience. Not expecting this to ever come up. I figured it was just a thing that had happened in the past. I see as if I'm in the room, just 10 feet back from watching that same situation again.
Wow.
I see her drinking, pouring the drink. I'm taking the drink. I'm like, yeah, this is great, whatever. we're like smiling, and then poof, a flash of light goes off, and can't move.
Like a camera flash? Like the flash on the camera?
Yes, but it kind of filled everything. It wasn't like it was head on with me. It was just everywhere, like a thump, and then I don't remember. Like the light overtook me.
Wow.
Right. I didn't even notice this at the time. I just woke up on the couch. Okay, so I see the flash go off, and then one at a time, really quickly, I see these little beings run into the room. They get right next to me, and I can see that I'm aware in my eyes looking at them, but I can't move. And it almost sounded like I was doing like making a weird noise, but my eyes were moving. And I caught the eye of, they were small, like 3 feet tall. They were little gray. They looked like insect beings, just like the grays everybody talks about, but they just look small and frail. Anyway, they come in, and the way they move, they follow each other like an insect trail. It was really awkward. And I thought if I could just reach out, I could snap his neck. I have it. And I couldn't do anything.
So you were like paralyzed almost for that amount of time.
That little scaly 4-fingered hand grabbed me, like I'm doing it on Paula's arm, like this, on one side and one on the other, and pulled, and my clothes came right off my body to the floor. I had nothing on. And what I felt from them was laughter, like knowing that I would be upset because they were taking my clothes off.
Right.
Now, I know nothing more of having confrontations with these things, or I've never experienced this before.
So this is just what you're witnessing.
I'm only allowed to witness it. This is another thing when you drink Aya and they show you this. She almost knows you're going to lash out.
Sure.
And you've seen her pin me down multiple times.
Oh, yeah.
Where
you're
I'm
not
about
allowed
to lose it,
yeah,
and I go to flail, and they, wherever you are, if you're standing next to a wall, half your body's on the wall, half of it's pinned to the floor, and you're like, what the? Let me out of this. And they're just like, you're going to watch this.
Yeah.
You're going to not look away, because this is the problem. You're looking away. You're afraid.
Right.
You're scared.
You need to observe this.
Observe it and acknowledge it. All right. So I'm shaking. They do that to me, and they just push me over to the side of the couch, and they put me over. They do the same thing to her, except one leaves, comes back, and it's got my clothes. They put it on her. She's naked. She was really tall. And they were laughing the whole time, and I was so embarrassed. But they were, from what I picked up on, were there for her, not really for me. They were doing something with her. Then a being walked over to me, got right next to my head, right here. I'm showing her. It's right in my right ear, right above the opening of the hole. They, on an upward angle, shot something right here behind.
Into your ear.
It's not even in my ear. It's like slightly above.
In the cartilage.
You push in right there. And you see me mess with my
yes,
all the time.
Yeah, hundreds of times.
It vibrates. It goes off. It gets hot. It drives me up a wall. And they're laughing. And I'm like, I can't do anything. And then I start thinking, this poor girl. I'm blaming her.
Well, yeah, no, you accused her of basically date raping you.
Maybe one day I'll explain why. That wasn't the first time that
I'm joking.
No, but yeah, I felt horrible because I screamed at her. I was like, hey, listen, you can't be trusted. People like you, never meet nobody nice because you can't be trusted.
Sure, my poor girl's horrified too.
I was observing this horrified because out of anything I would have imagined that would have happened, it wouldn't have been that.
No, why would you go back to that memory? You probably wanted to erase it from your mind.
I never really ever thought about it. I used to, if I ever did bring it up, it was a joke. Like, hey, this happened to me. And now I'm crying, sitting next to you.
Having the experience,
They took me. They injected me in my ear. They're touching me, and I don't want them to touch me. I want them to stop. I'm going to make them stop.
So they basically tagged you.
Yeah. They definitely tagged me because this thing's annoying me to this day. Now, we get into years later again. A year after that.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty recent.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my. So I invite a friend over, and we decide to journey together to be safe. Great brew. Great. Like super duper strong, totally unaware of how strong it would be. Okay, now I'm going to try to line this up right. We drank. And I remember the flashes starting to occur. They were showing me fractals. I couldn't tell. I was like, is this a fractal of myself? Is this a fractal? It looked like falling diamonds from where I was sitting. And I'm like, this is so powerful and so strong. This is going to be so good. And one of the fractals flipped open. It looked like somebody opened or rolled down the car window, so to speak.
Right.
And then just popped its head out. And the guy that was with me, now I'm allowed to talk about this, right? Because I kind of broke it out when Josh was here. I was using an example of something, but Zed, my friend, was sitting next to me on the floor, and this being just pops out of this fractal and says, "Hey, great job, great brew. You like that? You like that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I love it. What are you?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, by the way, Zed's your dad." And
in a previous life.
Well, yeah.
That makes total sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, naturally I look over and I see him and I get flashes back of me looking up at him. And I'm like, hey.
Really?
That's Dad. That's and naturally not from this time. But when you go back, you begin to see why people hang out with you, why people are other family members, why you feel closeness with one person and not the next.
Yes.
There's reasons why these people are in and out of our lives. I find it fun, that they showed me that. Right?
Oh, yes. You can connect the dots. I even use discernment,
like, who is this thing? I'm the creator, the man who walks and all that stuff. And then I pushed the discernment out and I looked over it and he was looking at me like I was his son. And I just went, oh, it's good to see you again. Mm-hmm. I'm glad we made it back together, and look what's happening right now. And it's funny because I curse a lot, and that might even be an understatement. And he gets uncomfortable.
I know,
when
he
I curse.
gets completely horrified.
But he says to me, I knew that you were the real deal when I met you because you want nothing. And I said, and I'll never take it.
No, never take anything.
And all right, so that's the little beginning part of it. Now it gets really interesting. I go on this journey, and I'm shown these insects. Insects, right? Mm-hmm. This is all going to connect. Everything that I'm speaking of tonight's going to connect. And the insects are just staring at me. Now, when a fly is on the wall, if you blow it up and just look at it, it's really just a bunch of eyes, and it's got the big, like, glossy effect eye, and it's staring at you, and you're like, is that looking at me? Like, is that even on the wall capable of seeing me on this angle?
Oh, yeah, and they say that they can understand you. You just talk to them, and they understand what you're saying.
Right, but I'm thinking to myself, what is this thing? Like, this insect is... And then I felt like I was being hypnotized, right? Like, what is that? What is that? And why am I acting like this?
So now you're drawing you in even more.
And I'm walking up to it, and I'm like, is that even an insect? Look at that eye. Is that a mirror? And I remember, like, looking and seeing my reflection, and just as I was about to, like, touch the beard, this thing attacked me from behind. It was actually the insect's eye, but the way it wrapped around the room,
sure,
the big part of its body was right behind me, and just, like, stung me and held me down. And I went, no, not again, not again, not again. And then it started. I go, what the hell are you guys doing to me? And I felt myself being, I'm getting...
You're getting worked up.
These insects they had me in some kind of chair. I was just sitting there. And I was thinking to myself, I can't move. I can't move my head, but my arm, it's right in front of me. And I look over, and I'm split open from my palm, up my forearm, up my bicep, across my shoulder, into my neck, open like a fish, being held open with all these little things, kind of like a dissection. And naturally, they're just looking at each other, these beings, and they're, like, making a noise, like, that's all I heard. I was in so much weirdness, like, what are you saying? It sounds like you're eating spaghetti, like, it just sounded weird, like... I'm like, I don't understand that. And then I started freaking out.
Were they taking
They were staring at my arm and then my neck and then looking at each other confused. And now I'm like, what are you doing to me? What are you doing to me? I didn't see any blood, which was really freaking me out.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if they were draining me, trying to eat me. And then I heard one of them say, he's not in there. You can't find him.
What were they looking for?
And I'm like, why are you cutting me open like this? Are you looking for me? Like, I'm right here. And they're like ignoring me, going, no matter where we cut in, there's nothing there.
Oh, don't they call that something? Wasn't that called telepathic surgery or something like that?
Well, whether it is or not, no, they were cutting me open. They were using.
So they were looking for something specific.
They were looking for me. They were looking for the soul. Like, where is it?
Oh, they didn't understand the separation of the soul
and
the
I kept
body.
saying to them, "Are you looking for me inside of me? You know, I'm not even in there."
Oh, wow.
And they looked so confused, like he keeps talking.
That's wild. Yeah.
So they started taking up small conversations with me.
Yeah, but they split you up to your ear.
Up to here, like this. So
by your ear. Did they try to take the implant out of your ear?
From everything I got out of this, it was them. It goes way.
So they were the
happens.
ones who put it there. They were the ones who've been tracking you. They're the ones from the beginning.
Well, at this point, I don't know, right? I'm going, they're looking for my soul inside of me. And I remember saying, you guys are technologically advanced because there was no blood and you're not throwing up while you're under. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you're just kind of like, what the hell are you trying to do to me? And I just explained to them exactly what they were doing.
And that's very literal of them, right? So you said that they're very technologically advanced.
But
that would be very literal, searching for your soul physically inside of you. That's wild.
So, is that the music again? So what I'm getting out of it, I'm saying, oh, they're searching for my soul. I wonder why they're searching for my soul with all this talk of me being the creator and all the other things I'm discussing from day one of this show.
Yeah.
Are they now like taking me off the board? Right? Like,
or trying to take you.
Have they found me and are they removing me now?
Mm.
Now, I'm sitting in the room with you and a couple other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm having this experience. I remember Christy walking by me saying, I'm a little worried about him. And I realized for that split second that I was pinned up against the wall in fear. Like, my eyes must have been rolling in my head or something because I kept freaking out to the point where it would build up, and then collapse. And I would be totally unconscious.
Sure.
And then a breath would come in. And I go, what are you doing to me? Why would you do this? So there were so many restrictions on this. They took me, put me in, it looked like there was a being sitting inside of a shell, like maybe not a shell, like a web of some kind,
mm-hmm.
like a gooey container of sorts, right?
Cocoon,
a cocoon, something like that. But inside it was like pink. It was pink and wiry. Yeah, I know this sounds funny and stuff, but there was a spider, but it wasn't a spider. It was one of these beings, but it was like they're one that's in charge, right?
Oh,
it felt like a hub.
So like a queen.
Queen of distribution of information that came through there before it went anywhere else.
Wow.
So every time there was this big breath that would come into the chamber, like, and all that fleshy stuff would move, like,
mm-hmm.
and I was very small, and I looked up, and I said, "Oh, there's a giant spider! Oh, they're feeding me to the spider. Now I'm gonna die." And there was like this little control thing sitting in front of it, and I was thinking to myself, "Well, it's not attacking me, but it's scaring the life out of me, and it seems to be going and moving closer to me, but it's on this perch." But I don't see any arms coming off of it, and I don't see any, like, I'm going to get you. It's just moving closer as if it's staring into me. And I'm like, what are you doing? And they're like, we're checking you. You know what we're doing, right? And then it starts happening. As the breath comes in, it was like electricity filled the room in those little wires around they look like little nerve endings in the room. It would light up, And I had an appearance of me being a cat, like a cat person. And I was going, no, this can't, like.
Oh, yes, it can.
No, it can't be real. And I made that meow kind of, and I went, what?
Wow.
Now I'm sitting there, and from my perspective, it was everyone that was here in the room now there, and we were cat people, and I was like a brownish color cat, and I'm going, why am I here? And I look over and I see a couple of people, and they go, it started again. And I go, what started again? Like, what's going on? And I turn around, and one of the cats that just said they're taking people to me, I turn back, she's gone. Everybody in the room's confused. And we weren't as highly intelligent. I didn't feel intelligent. I felt like you would get me with a card trick intelligence. Like, wow, look what you did, you know? So we were standing around like, I don't know what just happened. She was just there, now she's not there. Why was she there? She's there, she's not there. And then I looked back at the cat that was supposed to be watching, and I said, well, you did it. Like, this was your fault. This isn't no make-believe stuff. You're doing it. Like, we're animals. Like, this, it didn't even ring in my mind.
Sure.
That something was taking us and then
transforming.
Right. So
transforming.
As I was yelling at this cat, one of the girl cats screamed, and I turn around, and that girl cat is back with zipper scars all over her body, screaming, help, they keep taking me. They keep taking me and putting me back. All right, when we get back, I'm going to explain the rest of this. I'm going to fly through it. I got really interesting stuff, and it just gets crazier, you know?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That was pretty intense. I remember that now.
Where was my protection from that deception? I'm right here. It's Saturday.
No hate, no hype, no fear. We are TFR. Frequency Radio.
Am I awake or is this a dream? A fantasy where I'd rather be. So come and talk with me. Come and walk with me. Is this a wake-up call from my reality? Have you seen my friends? Have you seen my girl? Wake me up from this. I'm trapped in this world. Thought you were alive.
All right, we are back, and this is FearLess. That's my song, Come Alive. You can find it on Amazon, iTunes. I'm laughing because if I don't laugh, I'm going to cry tonight. I always wonder, like, how are these things possible? And I've never heard of them. I've seen every comic book, you know, all the stories, everything, and I realized that, yeah, it was in there too.
Yep.
They just, you know, they slipped it in there. All right, so the girl cat was screaming, they keep taking me and working on me, and keeping me in cages and putting me back. She was screaming. It was the scars that, you know, the underbelly on the cats were all like the light color, and you can see how big the scars were, like stitched up. It looked
like
ugly.
zipper scars, like
scars.
Frankenstein, yeah.
And I took that immediately, like, I didn't even think abduction. I was like, threat, magic threat, evil, God, like, I didn't know what to think. The mind that I had at the time was like a peekaboo would have been enough for me. Like, oop, got your stuff over here.
Oh,
and it was
sure,
like,
yeah.
he's got my stuff over here. Like, I still had that kind of, oh my God, I gotta get it, you know? And we were all freaking out. Well, they grabbed me. I disappeared. I was sitting in a cage. Across from me was you. I seen them working on you, and I heard the noises. That's what, you could almost deal with what you're seeing, but you can't deal with the noises.
No, because you can't unhear it. No.
When you hear the crushing, the breaking, the splitting, the screaming, and, all right, so multiple things started occurring. I was in the cage, and now I was on my all fours, and I started growling. I literally felt like I can get out of here and kill these things. Like, I can get them and kill them. You know, like, my instinct was to not be scared of them, but to attack them. But they had technology. There was no technology for me,
right,
for us. And they shocked the cage. And I remember growling and then growling less, and then whimpering, and then going into the corner of the cage and just looking as if, oh, wow, they broke me. Like, they actually broke me. Now, what I was feeling was on the couch thing, the love seat. I flipped over this was such a powerful experience. And I started growling, going, no, you're not.
Yeah, I remember I came in, you were on your hands and knees.
The cat was wedged. Squeak was like under my butt.
Yeah, he
was
trying
on my
to,
knees.
yeah.
And he was really trying to like push into me,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I was sobbing and growling and like, "Rah!" And I, for 1 second, started feeling like I was changing. I didn't understand what was happening. And I was asking, like, you got to give me the ability to get the out of here. What can I do to do something to cut this out? I have to make this stop. Now, I remember you touched me on the head with a
crystal.
Okay. At the height of my situation with this, I was very distressed.
Mm-hmm.
Face beat red.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Complete. I was in shock. This I did not expect any of this. And the whole thing I had read just a couple of days before that shaman could shapeshift, and I was so like, yeah, whatever. I'm not a shapeshift believer. But after some of the stories of the octopus and a few other things, I'm like, maybe that's not so far out of the reach of things, shape-shifting and transforming. I mean, we live in a world of magic. It just gets crazier and crazier as we discuss this. Well, here's what happened. You put that crystal on my head, and I collapsed again. And it like took me from freaking out. But then you put it in my hand, and I can see from that angle, when I looked up, I saw the insects all looking, and they were like looking for me. And the crystal was vibrating like a...
Yeah, I felt it.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
And I put it in my hand, and the vibration took me from the high point with these insects all the way really low. And just like the cat that I used on the cover tonight, like the Treasure cat,
mm-hmm.
popped out and started like giving me those kitty, it was like purring at me, but like intensely, but like, I'm going to protect you. And I'm like, wait, what? And the cat pulled me into the vibration.
Sure, cat was helping mask your vibration, so and
I went, they can't see
your
me.
Insect friends couldn't pick you up. Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the things that happened when I was down there is I saw Anubis, and Anubis was saying to me, don't worry, they're searching for what animates you. Like, he just straight up told me they're looking for your animation spark. But he goes, this is very trauma
So
trauma-based.
That's like your life force.
Yes.
Right?
Right. Like, whatever animates you, they think like it's just sitting in you. He goes, I pull your consciousness out below the board. The chessboard. I've talked about Anubis and the chessboard before. He just allows you to transport under, so these things can't find you and affect you. It gives you, a way to travel without just being all eyes on you, because you're shining light everywhere. But he said to me, they tagged your soul. And that freaked me out a little bit. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, they keep finding you.
Right.
Right? Like, they were looking for that girl, and then came in and found you. Mm-hmm. And we're like, oh, look who it is. Right? Boom, tagged again. So I'm like, well, how do I get rid of these things? They're like, well, you kind of got to be aware of it.
Yeah.
And then they push the etheric stuff off, but you have to relive it. You have to see what occurred to you. Like, you don't know what happened, right? If they're working with you and talking to you and you get freaked out, that's one thing. But if they're tearing into your body and looking at you.
No, you absolutely do, because you also have to go back and try to remember what frequency you were vibrating at.
And how do they keep finding me? By tagging me in that frequency. Maybe that's something that we need to stay out of.
Right.
I've seen demons surround people. I'll use myself, looking right at me. And I say to them, well, I'm out of here. And I vibrate up.
Yeah.
Right? But they're still in the room with me, but now they can't see me, even though my flesh body's standing right there.
They don't want anything to do with you. There's nothing you can offer them. It's a different vibration. Nothing you can offer them. It's when you sink down low and you change your vibration, then they're interested in you. But when you're vibrating at a very high frequency, they want nothing to do with you. There's nothing they can't keep up with you. There's nothing you have they need.
One thing, yes, true. One thing was funny. I saw the hierarchy of how this works, and we're in a reptilian Babylonian magic system. That's the reptilians, right? So I worry. I'm like, oh, damn it, reptilians! They took over. They're shape-shifting lizards.
But they're not all bad.
No, I'm not even going there.
Yeah.
And you think that that's like, oh, David Icke was right, and then you see that these insects do what they do to the reptilians, what they do to you. So there's a hierarchy there. The reptilians are at a point where they're aware it's occurring, and there's a collective insected mind.
There is. They have an investment in this planet as well.
Well, yes, we're harvest for a lot of these things. They eat the fear, right? These insects. I'll continue.
Oh, absolutely.
I believe it.
Yeah, no, I absolutely think they eat the fear.
This hierarchy I've seen before. They've shown it to me. I've interacted with this dark-robed council, so to speak, where they have long heads and insect eyes, and they look at you with zero compassion, and they're just going to do what they do. And I say, wow, even the reptilians are ruined to a degree. They believe the AI is God.
But they really are. That's why when they say, and I don't mean to cut you off, but that's why when they say, when the bees and the frogs go, the bees insectoids, and then the frogs reptilian. That's why they say when the bees and the frogs go, the planet's not going in the right direction.
That's right.
Because they have investments here. They're invested in this planet's success.
Absolutely. Well, just like you overlook the sheep, the shepherd does.
Yeah.
He tends to them for the butcher moment. And for the moment he takes your, so they care and look over you, and will protect you from these other things. But at the same time, you're just meat for the grinder.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're meat for the grinder, and so on, up and down the line. And this is one of the things that was a little frustrating for me. But it also, all right, after dealing with the AI and what we went through, I noticed that the insects are the biological AI. Like, the AI acts in the hive mind, and everything is very insect-like, the way they work. There's drones, and they send these things out to observe, and then these things attack. And
because they're copying nature.
They've copied.
They're learning from nature.
The ultimate hunter in nature, the ultimate predator. Okay, so they're explaining to me when I'm saying, man, they keep finding me. They keep finding us. What do we do? And they go, you're going to go back in front of that being for a second. And I go back in front of him, and I'm like, oh, no, not you again. And he's just staring at me, multi-eyed, being inside this big sack where they have me trapped. And he starts explaining it to me. He's like, we tagged you from day one, right? Let's show you some stuff. And there was like a replay that they showed us meeting and becoming awesome, right? Like an Atlantis situation.
Who, you and
I.
Really?
Other people.
Oh,
that you're supposed to connect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Our soul family.
Right. And then we'd meet and start going, hey, there's these insectoid things that keep getting us and taking us.
We're dead. Yeah.
And then this thing hits the button, and that was on the console, the console in front of them, and it looked like that game pop-up where everything like, oh, you're too late, boom, pops up, ruin the game. And you're like, wait, what? Like, you got to put all the pieces in before it pops and ruins the puzzle? Mm-hmm. Boom, we were all popped up, and then we had to start from scratch to find each other again. Yep. Like, basically, they'd blow something up, they'd destroy people, they'd have a flood, there'd be like some mass die-off, which this has been going on, and every time we get a finger hold on something or one another, and they become aware of it, they start pressing buttons and start eliminating things. So they said, here comes your elimination yet again. And I said, you know what? Sick of it. I've been told you're going to kill me. I've been put in rooms with artificial intelligence, removing tentacles from inside of me because we're breathing in micro nano things from the air and the chemtrails and all. This thing wants a spider to eat me and inject me with its venom and kill me off. This one's going to put me over here and tell me I have to die and resurrect. You know what? I'm not scared of any of you anymore.
Right.
Do your best.
Do your best.
You know what happened? Hit the button. Guess what? Your button doesn't work. We found each other and you can't take it back now.
No.
And this is one of the things that's freaking me out is that people ask me, you know, are we in the simulation? Are we on this? I go, if you're in this simulation and you say to yourself, out of all the fractals, I'm the main one, then it's you until one of the other ones does it. Okay? So you're the original factor. Call it all back into you. These things have been hitting reset buttons on us all the time. Every time we get smart, there's a Tower of Babel, whether it's the lizards doing it on the reptilians on one level, and then the insects doing it when we all get out of control. Okay? It's one or the other.
Yeah, checks and balances, yeah.
So I say, oh, Anubis, why did no one say anything about any of this? How come this one isn't written anywhere? I haven't seen this, nothing. I don't know about these giant insectoid things that eat you and take you apart and then look for your soul inside your stuff. And then he tells me, what are you talking about? It's right there. There's pictures where you could go 360 inside of the tombs and the pyramids and stuff, where you'll see lines on the wall after line on the wall of the different hieroglyphics and the stories and the whatever. So I'm looking and I'm like, well, I don't see nothing. I see a lot of writing. I don't understand any of it. And you're just showing me down the hallway and all the walls are lined with all the different stuff. And then a section in the wall just lights up and just goes down the whole hallway. And I'm looking and I'm like, oh my lowercase g God, here we go again. You guys put it right there. It's right on the wall. This isn't even hidden. It's on the wall. Nobody's deciphering it and saying anything. And he said, hey, listen, buddy, it's all here. Everything is here.
What was it?
They've been doing this since the beginning. Right after Atlantis, they moved in for they made a move to take over. They started building a false reality around us because after the flood kind of washed away, those next generations of people that come don't know anything. You know, you don't know any better. You don't know what's going on. You have no clue. And they just hijack that and they start building the phonier illusion around the illusion we're already in, trying to do stuff and trying to learn who we are. And now all of a sudden we have amnesia and things came in and stepped on us. Lizards came in from underground and said, we actually own Earth and we're the lizard gods. It's them of the old, you know, it's those characters, you know. Some of the first comic books depicted men versus snake men.
Right.
It's like the oldest battle is us versus them. And they said, it's been here the whole times. Do you not know? And I said, do I not know? What do you mean? He says, well, they're called Archons. And I said, well, I know that. I know about the Archons. And they said, what do you think Archons are? And I said, well, you know, I've heard the stories and whatever, but these things are like insect beings with technology. And these aren't like the demonic kind of overlord dark. He's like, listen, they're factions. All different factions, all over the place, just moved in. You got to think of it as multiple villains moved in multiple sections, and everyone's working, and there's a hierarchy at the top. That was that council that you saw. But you've seen everything from insect men to giant insects to insectoid, where it's more man than the insect, and vice versa. What do you think's going on there? They're all from the same stuff.
Right.
Now, naturally, I've met insects that aren't part of that. I've met the mantis. I've met some other one. They looked like beetles. I don't even, maybe grasshoppers. I couldn't even tell you what they were, but they were very nice. They were very regimented like an army. They had no problems, you know, almost like those roly-polies that you would meet outside that are in the dirt. Some of them looked like that. And I said, wow, that's interesting because I always pictured myself being afraid of insectoid. Like I didn't see ant people. I haven't seen that yet, you know, but I guess they're all running on different things, but these Archons, I brought up a interview with Jay Wedner. It says here, the Archons were whispered about in texts after the burning of the library at Alexandria, with some mention of the mysterious beings called these Archons. But the powers that be spent 1,300 years cleaning up those records and had written out the Archons from our history. In 1947, texts were found in clay jars in the Nag Hammadi in Egypt, and on these texts was a story of what the Nag Hammadi people 2,000 years ago thought the world was about. Basically, there were Gnostics. Yeah, here it goes. The Gnostics were the original religion before what we've had. Okay, and these Gnostics believed. All right, let me just read it for you. Gnostics is a Greek word meaning knowledge, gnosis. The Gnostics believed that liberation can only be achieved by knowledge, by the consumption of the evaluation of reality through knowledge. The Library of Alexandria was run by these Gnostics and were the first people to collect scrolls and books and assemble these informations. Gnostic preached that there was an invasion that occurred about 3600 BC, about 1600 years before the Nag Hammadi texts were buried. They wrote that this invasion was like a virus, and in fact, they were hard-pressed to describe it. The beings that were invading were called archons. These archons had the ability to duplicate reality, to fool us. They were jealous of us because we have an essence of some kind, a soul that they don't possess. And the Nag Hammadi text described the archons, one that looks like a reptile and the other that looks like an unformed baby or a fetus. It is partially living and partially not living. It has gray skin and dark, unmoving eyes. The archons are duplicating reality so that when we buy into it, when we come to believe that the duplicated false state reality is the real reality, then they become the victors. According to the text, they can get into people and can manipulate people to do things very suddenly and very odd. They are actually responsible for the deterioration of the culture. So unlike the culture of the ancient Greeks or Chinese, who but a cheap cascade of the culture. All right, like these things, look, they spread across like a virus, like bugs, insects.
Well, that's why they were written out of the text. They didn't want to scare people.
Television is an example of archonic imitation. It's like life imitating art, art imitating life. We don't know which way is up, which is the Truman Show, which way is down, what's going on, who's building this around me, who's building that around me, what is this I see, why are we here, what's going on. All they have to do is just insert themselves into that and get confusion going even more. Mm-hmm. And they can, more powerful, some would call them gods, can just hijack us.
Well, that's why they were written out. They didn't want us to know that piece of history.
And why were they written out? Because they were the victors.
Right.
History is told from the perspective of the winning team. If they came in and took over and won, whoever writes these things is going to leave them out. It's going to be the hidden hand behind it. They'll even blame the reptilians. And like you always say, the reptiles aren't always bad. And I know. I've seen ones that aren't. As a matter of fact, we have one around because these things come like locusts. A frog, let's say, would be your best friend in a crowd of locusts.
Oh, yeah,
right?
because they eat the bugs.
Mm-hmm. So all the different kinds are there. And there's something going on, and it's been happening for a long time. As I was reading this, and I was freaking out because I just saw this yesterday.
No, that's
and I'm
wild.
like, wow, man, once again, I'm setting up the show, and this just comes across the screen. I'm like, oh, Archon, let's see if it has a good definition so I don't have to go to Wikipedia. So maybe someone else could get the definition, and I'll just read from their stuff and say, look, this is, I told you a whole show about what I experienced, then this guy explained this right here. I've heard this over and over and over again. The Gnostics were the first ones murdered, too. When it hit the fan, so to speak, and they came through with knowledge, they were like, burn them dead. Which I guess would be the wisest thing if you don't want any information about you getting out there. So once again, you have a situation within a situation. You have a hijacked reality from these guys. You have them put in place the reptilians, which are basically guys that were from here before us. Some were from other planets, like other things, all mixing and messing around. And who knows if they built the AI or not. The AI is not even from here.
Well, it even says here that they believe that many of the teachings of Jesus are actually Gnostic myths. that are just being Gnostic myths that are being retold through Jesus. So it's history repeating itself constantly repeating itself.
Okay. Here's a wow. Supposedly, the Archons live or lurk outside the inner planets near Saturn. Once again, Saturn's coming up, i.e., in our solar system. The Gnostics thought that Jehovah was an alien, off-planet, demon, and that he was a fake god and masquerading as an Archon again, duplicating reality.
Right.
Chris and I talk about the Yahweh virus. There's a false, phony one in there, guys. A lot of times it's the same character over and over again. And it's like, well, who's that guy? Well, it's him again. Every time I go and I take a look, it's always that same guy, just called a different name, just been there at a different time, different culture, a different moment.
Right.
And it's like, you see this, like the serpent-headed, winged, feathered god thing that's holding these little boxes, and they'll show it at a guy, like a drawing from Ecuador, and then they'll have one from over here, and then one from over there, and you notice that they're moving across like one side of the world around the other side, and as the timing comes up, like from this time BC to this time BC, it was Quetzalcoatl over in Mexico, and then it moved to this section for the next date. I'm like, look, it's the same guy moving from section to section, and they call him something different in each one. But each one, he's like the snake-headed man, the Lord of the Snakes. And then if his information is too good and they want it to appear like, oh, screw this guy, they tell you that he's the evil in the Bible and the serpents are under. And really, that just means that the underworld of serpents are under your feet. There's a whole world of civilization that lives in inner Earth. It's honeycombed out, guys. This is where they all are. The Indians talk of the ant people. There's the little people. There's the gnomes, the fairies. Every single thing has a piece here. And I know it always goes weird. It goes weirder when I say gnome and fairy.
Bigfoot. Yeah. He's out there too.
Yeah, you guys can't leave him out.
Yeah. If one of them exists, they all exist.
I was laughing. I said, well, if Bigfoot's there, the Smurfs are there. And then I saw machine elves, and I went, well.
Yeah, they look like the Smurfs.
I was on 99.99, except they were a different color. That's it. And I go, I don't know why they call you guys machine elves. You look like Smurfs. And they lost it. We're not blue. I said, that's it? They're like, we're mad. I go, that's it. That's why you're mad, because you're not blue. So you're a darker black.
Well, no, I think what they said to you was the Smurfs are the Smurfs were a version of us.
Yeah, they were made after us. We weren't made after them. Yeah, they get upset at the silly things. Mm-hmm. This is what's happening in our reality, fellas. I don't know how many of you out there now that you've had a little time to sit in it since we spoke about it since the last full moon. When you're meditating, when you're practicing.
Oh yeah, what's
what's
going on?
Is anything happening to you? I get stories all day long. All day long, I read up on everyone's.
I know, but you have to keep sending Frank the stories because they're interesting. They're really awesome.
I mean, I love it. Some people try to do the old slip slide. Let's see if Frank's crazy or not, just making it up, and they slide it around. And I go, look, you play the game with me all day. The truth is the truth, but if you want to believe it or not, it's right there in front of you. And guess what? I'm one of those guys that has the doorway right in there, and I keep sticking my head in and looking and telling you guys, hey, take a look, it's not that bad. Hey, take a look, we can do this. Hey, take a look, we're all supposed to level up and do this. So it looks like we'll do this next week. And we'll be back. Change your frequency and tune into ours. We're your protection.